Welcome back, guys, to the big one. Let's go live. We should be live here at Tech Yes City, and it has been a long time coming. Come get comfortable in chat, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're doing great and you are healthy. And speaking of health, Tech Yes City, sorry the content has been slow. It's a long journey with me in the last few months. I got back to Australia, and we'll quickly, we got the RTX 4070 details up on the screen here, which looks really accurate. So we've got a great live stream planned for you guys today, where we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the quiet release of the A620 motherboards from AMD, which personally I was really looking forward to, except they're not really out on the shelves at the moment. One thing I was doing this month, it's meant to be last month's parts on. I just released that yesterday. So I was in Tokyo 2 days ago, and we did the parts hunt there, and they said, I asked the people in all the computer stores, I was like, hey, is the A620 motherboards released? And they said, oh, let me just check. And the guys were going to check. And then they said, oh, it's meant to be out from the 1st of April, but we haven't got any stock in yet. And so that was pretty much everyone was saying the same thing. So the A620 at the moment kind of looks paper launchy, and what you're going to get there is it'll slowly release out in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, I mean, we'll talk about the A620 first, because it is kind of a juicy topic where ASRock have these two boards on Newegg. This is the only site I could find with these boards, where they got two boards. One's at $86, which is very cheap, considering if you can get a 78X3D, which has just been, well, it's going to launch in I think 6 or 7 hours or something like that. That CPU is offering really good value, and for high-end gaming. I shouldn't say it's offering really good value for most people. Most people aren't going to be able to utilize that CPU. But if you can couple that with an $86 motherboard and some cheap DDR5 memory, you've actually got a really good combo there. But the problem is here is, like, I'm seeing, and this is the one thing I really want to put to the test, up to 65 watts. So they're kind of, are they hard capping the A620 or some of the A620 motherboards? Or are they going to say, could these go up to 85 watts? Which in games, I'm pretty sure the 7800X3D is going to be absolutely fine, and it's going to be able to do this perfectly fine when it comes to gaming. And so when we got the other board like this one goes up to 120 watts, which should be more than enough for a 7800X3D, even if you're using it for productivity tasks and you're maxing out all the CPU cores and stuff like that. So that one looks promising. It's just that the launch is kind of like a little bit weird with that one. So anyhow, we got here. We'll be talking about chat later. So get comfortable. If you got some questions, just be sure to @TechYesCity, and I'll answer those questions when we get on to the Q&A time as well. But I mean, we've already got a question here from Mossum100, and they ask, is the RTX 4070's 12 gigabytes sharing the same faith in couple of years that RTX 3070 8 gigabyte has now? So I mean, so we're going to get into the 4070 right now. The 4070 is coming in, and it's making big waves here, with it being priced essentially 25% lower than the 4070 Ti, right? So that was priced at $799. Now we've got a card that's coming in at $599. And it's offering the same memory bus. It's offering the same amount of 12 gigabytes of G6X memory as the 4070 Ti is. However, it does have, and this is what from the top of my head, it's got around 20-something%. I think it's maybe 23% cut down CUDA cores there, going from 7,680 down to 5,888. So that's a significant drop in CUDA cores, but the rest of the card is checking out. Now, one thing that I saw here was this base clock. That's significantly lower on paper, and that's because I think that's if you're going for that TDP limit of 200 watts. So I'd say in practically all games, this thing's going to go up to like 2,700 megahertz, that all the other RTX 40 series cards are currently doing. It's just that if you're, say, doing something really hard tasked, it may have that 200 watt limit on there, and so it'll drop the speed. That's a guarantee, that base clock, essentially. So don't like get too scared about that. Like, oh my god, is it going to be significantly slower than a 4070 Ti? I think the answer is going to be no. But this card does look like it's finally the first 40 series card that's going to come out that I think is going to make a lot of people in the tech space at least more happier about the new segment. Now, for me personally, looking at the 599 price tag, I would be, and I think I'm going to talk about this a little bit in my review, because I've already seen some of you guys in chat are already coming in and saying, well, I think 599 is too high. And this is one of the things I've been looking at with finance, right? This is the big thing where if you get on the grocery store, right, everything's gone up. Actually, one of my friends messaged me today, and he said the price of milk has just gone up from last year about 25%. So it went from $5 for a 3-liter milk to $6.50 in Australia. And that's the inflation that's coming through the pipeline. Now, typically everyone's going to look out, and the news is so guilty of this. The news, the mainstream media, I call it lamestream media. Lamestream media is going to tell you guys it's the greedy producers, it's the greedy companies. And now, sure, the companies do get greedy, right? They do want to make profit. But in a world where productivity doesn't increase, except the money supply increases, right? Let's look at the money supply increase since those announcements, right? Since you had the RTX 3080 come out, look at this amount of money, or at least the announcement and when it was being fabricated. Look at the amount of money they've pumped into the system. They pumped 33% more cash into the system, right? M2 money stock went up around 33%. Those effects that go through the economy mean that your graphics card is naturally a $450 graphics card, all other things considered, is going to cost $599. So the real price, and this is the thing, a lot of reviewers, I think when the 4070 comes out, I think a lot of reviewers are just going to bash the $599 and say how much of a ripoff it is. But then, yeah, like we can go back to the 3-liter milk. The 3-liter milk's gone up from $5 to $6.50. And that's just because there's more money, there's inflation, the hidden tax. This is what happens. We work in a society that's controlled by the big banks. The big banks control everything. They control the government. They control how much we pay for products ultimately by manipulating the money supply. And so when the money supply goes up 33% in a factor of 3 years, you can expect prices to go up pretty much 33% on everything. So what should have costed $450 by 2020 standards now costs $599. And that's the gist of it. And I think a lot of reviewers are going to be thinking that a dollar from 2020 is going to be the same dollar in 2023. And it's just not the case at all. And so this is why I think a lot of us average hardworking people have to know what is going on with this system. It's designed to screw over the middle and lower class. Plain and simple. The lower and middle class always gets stiffed by inflation. The class that has to save money to survive. And so that's the bottom line. Basically, the hidden tax is coming through. It flows through. Companies have no choice but to raise their prices, whether it's the 3-liter milk at the supermarket or it's NVIDIA with a graphics card launching into the public like the RTX 4070. So the actual $599 MSRP, I would be sitting here lying to you guys if I was going to just pander. Like if I was to pander to you guys and go 599 is an absolute ripoff, I'd be just lying to you guys because I know it's actually fairly well priced, believe it or not. And so that's the sad news, right? The honest news is that inflation is that hidden tax and it comes through. So there we go with that. And you guys in chat are actually, it's good. You guys in chat are agreeing with us. It's, and yeah, I mean, ultimately there is ways to mask inflation. That's why when you see things, another thing too, we'll get back to the RTX 4070 and 4070 Ti. Another thing is too, when you see these 6% inflation figures and these 5.5% inflation figures, a lot of those figures have what's called shrinkflation mixed in as well. So your 3-liter milk will go down to, some people are saying turbocharge the 2-liter milk. Well, the geniuses at the government and the people who report these statistics, they might actually just put in a 2-liter milk and then say, hey, the price remained the same, right? The $2 milk's now $5. Why don't we just say the 2-liter milk is in instead of the 3-liter milk? And so that's how they calculate some of these inflation figures. They actually don't account for the drop in quality or the drop or the drop in size of the products. So that's the real news. I guess we've got to start off with the harsh truth. But other than that, that's the 4070 in a nutshell. And it looks like it's going to deliver. Hopefully, I'll get you guys some day one coverage. And we'll get on to, sorry I've been out of action as well. That like people are asking, where's last month's live stream? What happened to the live streams? They're not going anywhere. I just had a really, like, the whole time I've been doing YouTube, I do not think I have been this hammered with either infections, illnesses, or allergies all at the same time. And I thought I'd tell you guys on live stream, I actually had to go to the doctor on Monday because I had a swollen neck and there was like a hard lump in there. And I got a CT scan and they came back and they said, look, the CT scan, it doesn't look like it's cancer. But, and I'm like, they said, look, do you want to see a nose, throat, and ear specialist who's one of the best around here? I'm like, yeah, definitely book me in. I want to know. Like, they're like, it should be okay. So I went and saw them this morning, and that's why I'm in much better spirits. They stuck a camera all the way down my nose and checked it all out. And they just said it was just, yeah, it's just the season for infections and allergies. So I happened to get hit really hard with all that. So I guess that's a bit of a weight off my chest. So yeah, that's health scares can definitely sort of reshape how you do things. But in the meantime, I've gone and overhauled everything. You know, like my say for instance, sometimes I'll drink a coffee in the morning. I'm like, nope, off the coffee completely now. I'm not drinking alcohol at all. And I've overhauled the diet in the mornings, like cook up some veggies now and some eggs in the morning, and lunch is like some yogurt and nuts and stuff like that. So that was, I guess sometimes it takes a bit of a scare to overhaul your diet. So I was actually speaking to a friend this morning. I was like, man, he was telling me, man, my energy's a bit low, this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe he needs a bit of the tech yes overhaul as well. Maybe we all need to do a bit of a tech yes overhaul in our lives right now. And hopefully, and this is another thing as well, hopefully NVIDIA can deliver us an overhaul with the pricing and the value in the graphics card market. Now, one thing that we're going to go over to, so we'll go over to right now. We'll go over to one of the best things I think about this $499 price tag, right? And you guys can hear us out in chat here as well, and let me know what you guys think, because we'll get on to the 7800 X3D in a second. But one thing I'm noticing here is this $599 price point is actually really good in terms of bringing down the prices of 3080s, 3080 Ti's, 3070s. All those cards are going to feel pressure from this 4070. And the main reason this time around was because we did see a huge drop. We saw a massive drop in the size of the power consumption in relating to the, sorry, we'll go big screen here. We saw a massive drop in the power consumption. The node, it shrank from 8 nanometer to 5 nanometer. Well, it's 4 or 5 nanometer. Depends how you look at it. People say it's a true 5 nanometer. Regardless, the efficiency on the RTX 40 series was a massive leap over their 30 series cards. Now, with efficiency, that always brings brings price drops to the market, because I mean, we're hoping AMD responds, right? So hopefully AMD has an answer for the RTX 4070, because even at $599, it's going to shake up. It's going to shake up the market, this card. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what's on the used market after this release. I'm noticing that when I went to Tokyo the other day, I was noticing that the RTX 3080, the RTX 3090s, a lot of those cards were holding their price. So hopefully these will bring down those prices of those used cards. And I mean, in the meantime, I'm seeing like there's a lot of banged up 3060 Ti's, especially when you're buying a 3060 Ti. Make sure you can check that card out before you buy it. That would be my advice, because I think the 3060 Ti and especially the 3070, they're going to be the most banged up cards in there from the miners. And since the power consumption is pretty high on these cards, if you're buying a used 3060 Ti or a used 3070, make sure you can check it out. And especially if you can test it or get some kind of even one-day guarantee, that would be great as well. So that's my advice there. And so what's the point of buying a 3060 Ti used if it's going to cost, like in Japan, they were trying to charge 300 USD for them. What's the point of buying that banged up 3060 Ti when there's these cards around the corner that are coming out and they're going to offer better value for money, especially with the 4060. So this coming in, the 4070 coming in at $599, at least there's some hopes there that maybe the 4060 will be $399. And I think that will deliver a hard blow to the market, because traditionally the 60 series cards have been the best sort of value for the gamers. So the 4070 is already looking like it's going to deliver a pretty sweet blow to the new and used market, but I'm hoping that the 4060 will deliver even more on top of that. So you guys but we'll move over to some questions here with the 4070 and while we're on this topic. So we've got here at Tech City, thoughts for lower tier cards, given the 70 was probably meant to be the 70 Ti. So yeah, I think with the lower tier cards, I think the naming was, you know, NVIDIA was tried, like the 4080, like if the 4070 Ti was trying to be the 4080, that was NVIDIA. Like we already called them out on that. The price dropped $100 accordingly, which was great. But I think NVIDIA themselves would have seen that the 4070 Ti wouldn't have sold well at $899. I mean, they were gauging the market at that price even before they released it, but they knew well that that card was not going to sell at all that well at $899 versus $799. Even at $799, right? The prices have dropped down to MSRP. You can pick up 4070 Ti's for MSRP now practically everywhere, even in Japan here, but they're just so expensive. Even at $799, that's a really high ask. But I think the 4070, if we were in a market like 2021, where cash was flying around everywhere, governments were just in the process of rolling out the printed money, handing out everyone stimmy checks, I think you would have seen that 4080 release at $899, most definitely. But the conditions have changed, and they're not in favor of NVIDIA. And so with that, you're going to see these price drops, and you're going to see NVIDIA have to be more aggressive. They're just going to have to be more aggressive if they want to get the volume sales. So the 4070 was originally, I do agree with you guys in chat, the 4070 was meant to be the 4070 Ti. I do believe that. And then you would have got the 4060 Ti and the 4060 in the 128-bit bus brought down to that lower bit bus, which was traditionally reserved for, say, 50 series cards. So going forward, though, I think you're going to see now maybe perhaps a 4060 Ti and a 4060 at those lower bit bus areas, 128-bit bus, as opposed to, say, the 4070 could have originally been the 4060 Ti. So when we lower that down, I think that's what the original plan was. But of course, the cash has definitely dried up. And as I'm saying this with you guys now, we'll go to the M2 money supply. And as the M2 money supply shrinks, with the ever amount of increasing debt, right? The debt has never been higher than it has been in the history of the United States dollar fiat currency since the Federal Reserve has been made. And so when we look at those facts, every day that this goes on, every day that money gets destroyed in a system that demands money printing, you're going to see prices come down ultimately in aggregate total, especially for gaming tech, whether it's CPUs or GPUs and stuff like that. So that's at least where my analysis brings me on this topic. Though we'll get back to some chat here with the 4070 because you guys do have a few questions here. Quite a few questions with chat, so it's pretty juicy. And Jantech says, hey from Finland, and hey from Japan here. And lots of good used GPUs lately from Joshua. And Joshua, you're right. I think, like, people are saying the 10 series is old and stuff like that. But if you can pick up a really good condition 10 series card and the price is right, that's an absolutely amazing deal, especially for 1080p gaming. I think we're getting to the stage now, if we look at new games, we're looking at games that people want to play for gameplay. Me personally, I look at like, for instance, if I load up these new games and it takes like 5 seconds just to do one action, I'm automatically quitting that game and I'm alt-tabbing and going out. So, sorry, we missed out the money supply here. So the M2 money supply, every time this shrinks, sorry, we'll get back to the big screen here. Every time the M2 money supply shrinks here, and you've got the increasing ever amount of debt, plus they have to roll over the debt and create more debt on top of the debt. Every time that happens in this system, it essentially makes prices cheaper in aggregate total. So don't worry about tech prices as this is coming down. Now, what you got to be aware of and what you got to be quick to react to, this is back to the money supply and tech prices, because it is literally what I'm finding with my research is this is tied hand in hand with not just tech products, with pretty much everything. But as this goes down, right, you got to wait for the time when it will start going up again. So you see my mouse here, off here, this is the trajectory of the M2 money supply, right? So I think very soon in the next few months, it can't go any sooner, can't go a whole lot sooner, otherwise the whole system will go bust, you're going to see this line, just the printers will roll up, and they'll roll up in such an aggressive way. So you've got to be careful when that day comes, which I think it will. That's when you've got to make sure you've got no savings at all. You just go out and buy whatever, and then have some food reserves ready, because the whole system is falling apart. The whole financial system, it is falling apart in real time. So we're living, ladies and gentlemen, through history right now. So that's one thing that I want to make sure that, because when this like financial system falls apart, which it will very soon, you don't want to be sort of caught off guard and be like, hey, why didn't the lamestream media inform me of this? Well, they didn't inform you because they don't want to inform you. So anyway, we'll get back to some GPU questions, but before we do, make sure if you don't already have Windows 10 or Windows 11 activated, you can use a Windows 10 key for the job, even on Windows 11. You can use the BFTYC, links in the description below. You can click on that link, use BFTYC, and you can type that code in and get a fat, juicy discount there, 15 USD for a Windows 10 single end user license, OEM keys, and they will activate your motherboard for a lifetime. So that's the one of the best sponsors in history here, not just on Tech Air City, but in YouTube. So you can get that deal, always reliable. And people are always messaging me, telling me they're using the codes. So let's get back here to the chat, and we will say, I currently, so from 8sun, they ask, I currently have a 1080 Ti and feel like it's getting phased out of 1440p due to poor optimization and DLSS requirements to retain performance. What card should I upgrade to? So if you've got a 1080 Ti and you feel like it's not enough, especially for what you want to play and the settings, and if you're playing the latest and greatest games, I would honestly look at a 3060 Ti at 1440p. I think it's a great card, especially since you can utilize DLSS. But as we said before, do be careful if you're buying, especially a used 3060 Ti. Make sure you check that card out first. And we've got a heap of guides, heap of used GPU buying guides on Tech Air City in terms of video catalogs. So you can check that out and make sure you're getting the right card for the right job. But for me personally, 1440p with a 3060 Ti, I'm in bliss. I'm having a great gaming experience, especially coming from a 1080 Ti, where you're going to get more performance, but you can utilize DLSS 2, which makes a huge difference. DLSS 2 is a deal breaker. It is a real good tech to take advantage of, especially if you're at 1440p or 4K. So if you're at 1080p, it gets a little bit it gets a bit noticeable, I think, but 4K and 1440p is definitely where you take advantage of DLSS 2. So we got next questions. We're going to move along with some of the questions here. 4060 looks more like a 449 MSRP at least. So, I mean, yeah, I'm hoping NVIDIA, though, does do the GTX 970 mentality and says, look, here's where the market might expect it, but we're going to give the gamers one up here and price this thing aggressively. So that should be a, I'm hoping that, 4060 Ti, 499, and then you've got 4060 399. I mean, maybe they'll do 429 or something like that, but if they did 399, it would actually be a bit of hopium injected into the tech scene. So yeah. Anyway, you guys are going, is this live? So we got asked, is this live from Swizzler80? And yes, it is live. I'm just sorry. There's a bit of a backlog on questions, but I do apologize if I missed some questions as well. So there are a heap of questions coming in. And I just like to live stream usually once or twice a month just to catch up with you guys and let you know if there's any hot topics that you guys want to talk about, any answers or anything that you guys want to bring to my attention, we can talk about those live while we're doing this. So no, this is not pre-recorded. It's all live, and I'm reading chat as we look at these stats right here. Last of Us VRAM controversy thoughts. I haven't played Last of Us. I just haven't had time. I've heard it's such a crap optimized title on PC. I heard it's like one of the worst games to come out in a while. So with that said, I would avoid it. I mean, that being said, for me, like, when it comes to games, I'm going to be honest with you guys, when it comes to playing games, if I don't have friends that tell me, hey, you've got to check out this game, it's really good, then I actually don't really play it. So for instance, people told me I had to check out Hogwarts, so I checked that out. I had another friend tell me I had to check out Baldur's Gate 3. check that out. It was only on preview at the time. Check that out. I had to check out Cyberpunk. I've enjoyed all those 3 games. I'd put Hogwarts down below Cyberpunk. Like, I enjoyed Cyberpunk a lot, the single player. It didn't have a lot of whole replayability. Baldur's Gate 3, I'm looking forward to the final release. That was the most enjoyable out of the 3. So Last of Us, I haven't had one friend tell me, hey Brian, you've got to play this game. It's so enjoyable. So if I don't hear that, I don't play the game. That's just how I operate. So you're going to be hearing, like, you know, your friends are going to tell you in PC gaming, hey, you got to play this game. Like, if it's that good. I think in live streams in the past, I've talked about how much I like Baldur's Gate 3, for example. So you're going to hear the word if a game's good. So I would say that the game's like absolutely like crap from what I hear already. So in terms of the VRAM as well, that's got to do with mainly textures and how they're optimized. And a lot of these games will just be so sloppily, there's a word for you, sloppily. They'll just be so sloppy in the way they're put together that, yeah, they'll have these high VRAM requirements. And not only is the high VRAM requirements bad, the bad thing about this, the worst thing about this is stuttering that will then follow. Because it's so unoptimized, not only are you going to need a lot of VRAM, you're going to get a lot of stuttering because it's unoptimized. And so I'm guessing, without even looking into The Last of Us, if you're saying there's VRAM controversy, then I'm already guessing there's also stuttering that's going on in that game. So that's just me with, I haven't looked into it at all though, but I'm just going to put 2 and 2 together and say that's probably got stuttering issues too. So this is too much history for a lifetime, if you ask me. So one time, I'm just going through the comments now. So history is amazing because, you know, if you look at, and this is the funny thing, like I'm really going down a bit. I love researching history, especially when it comes to fiat money, right? If you look at history and fiat money, that's one of the most interesting things, where all these things that we get today with fiat money, they've all been tried in the past, and every time they've failed. So that's what we've got with fiat money. So so we got here, Tech City. What is your view on DLSS FSR? Personally, I don't like fake frames and rather have raw compute horsepower. So for me personally, I like DLSS 2 at 4K. I really think it's good. Like, that's me. I played with, for instance, Cyberpunk. I played all the way through that with DLSS 2 on, because it brought, for the amount of extra frames you got and the image quality difference, even on 4K on OLED, I thought DLSS 2 was really good. It was one of the best things NVIDIA have done. It's just a shame that they couldn't give that to GTX 10 series users, but they say that it's utilizing the AI portion of the GPU, which is fair enough. DLSS 3 is still pretty infant, though I'm going to say that it can help in RPG games. I think if you're a competitive gamer, going with DLSS 3 is not going to be so good as opposed to playing RPG games. I think DLSS 3 has a bit of potential. For instance, in Hogwarts, I was testing it out, and it does do a pretty good job in Hogwarts Legacy. Though, in terms of FSR, I tried FSR. I've tried FSR 2 as well. And my initial thoughts is it's not like it's behind DLSS 2. Like, I prefer to use native over both, as well as Intel's XeSS. When I turned that on in Hogwarts, for example, I did a recent comparison just in my own time while I was benchmarking. I did a side-by-side with all 3 of them, FSR versus XeSS versus DLSS, and DLSS 2 was just that much better than those other 2. So I think they've got a bit of a ways to go. But in terms of, I think the gaming, working with the gaming manufacturers and getting temporal upscaling is the way to go. I think AMD and Intel, if they're not going to make the extra tech for it, I think they're better off working with the game developers to just put temporal upscaling in and circumvent DLSS altogether, because temporal upscaling works really well. So we got here, Tech City. Would it be worth it to upgrade to an RTX 4070 from an RTX 3070 for 4K 60 FPS modern gaming? I'd plan on selling my 3070, so that cuts the cost down by 60%. So this is probably one of the best questions, because the 4070 will do 60 FPS 4K, especially if you want to utilize the DLSS 3 in those latest titles, where arguably that's where you're going to need it for the most demanding titles. But in terms of the 3070, that's going to be able to do 4K 60 FPS if you drop it down to medium settings. It just depends on what type of gamer you are. Do you want that better experience? Do you want the power savings that is going to come with the 4070 as well? I mean, paying, like, if you're selling your card and then you're recouping 60% of the costs as well, I think you're already enticing yourself into buying it. But do wait. My ultimate recommendation here would be do wait for the reviews and comparing it to the 3070, and then see if you're turning DLSS 2 on in some of these games versus the 3070, which I'm going to be looking into personally. I think the 3080 and 3070 are going to be the main cards to focus against the 4070, because they're being bought up, and 3060 Ti, they're being bought up on the used market quite a bit, and they're both selling quite well on the new market. They're going to be the main cards to take a look at and compare to the 4070 and say, okay, are you getting your money's worth? Is it worth it just to drop the settings, whatnot? So do wait for the reviews, but it's sort of like you're right on the edge there. That's kind of like a coin flip for me, and just wait until the reviews have been done. So sorry, I've been going in sort of reverse chronological order with the questions here. I do apologize for that. It's just, there's a lot of them coming in. So what do you think performance will be comparable to with the 4070? I think it'll come in between a 4070 Ti and a 3080. I think that's where it's going to lie. I mean, the 3080 is a powerful card. Like, that was a really powerful card. It was only 10 to 15% behind a 3090. That was their flagship card of last generation. So the 3080 was very powerful to begin with. Do you test the card before the official premiere? So yeah, I mean, of course I'll test the card before I release the review. That's definitely the case. I think mine's coming in the mail though. In terms of my 4070, I think it's on the way from NVIDIA in the mail. So and even if I had it here, I couldn't talk about it with you guys because I'd be under NDA. So there's that one there. So like less CUDA cores, really, what's the need? So, I mean, yeah, you've got less CUDA cores here, especially versus the 4070 Ti, even versus the 3070 Ti, and the 3070 got the same CUDA cores, but they are better CUDA cores. They are more efficient, and you ultimately are getting extra VRAM as well, and better power efficiency too. So it's, I mean, in the world, when this came out at $499, especially with the 3060 Ti at $399, that was right before the massive pump of crypto, the massive pump of fiat money was going through the system. If you look at when that money was printed on the M2 money supply, these cards came out in what, like August, September. But if you go back to even research done by Milton Friedman, for example, back in the 1960s and 1970s, they showed that inflation, the effects of M2 money supply are pretty much directly correlated with M2 money supply 12 to 18 months later. Nowadays, it'd probably be a bit faster, accelerated to maybe around 6 to 12 months. I'd say the inflation would catch on a bit quicker, which it looks like it did. But when these cards were announced, I think they weren't, NVIDIA and AMD weren't anticipating, and Intel to some extent, weren't anticipating how bad this inflation would be. When this money printing occurred here, the inflation effects were definitely starting to be seen in 2021. And so that was exactly what Milton Friedman's research in the 1970s. If you guys don't know who Friedman is, we'll look at Milton Friedman here. He did research in the 1970s that showed that M2 money supply was heavily correlated with inflation. And this is just even more proof of it. So when we look at that here, that was a delayed effect. So I think NVIDIA and AMD really didn't, maybe they're economists. Maybe they don't employ economists or whatnot. And I mean, why would they? I mean, they have marketing and all that stuff there, but I think they didn't expect how bad inflation would be. And a lot of these companies don't talk about it because inflation's that hidden tax that a lot of people don't talk about. But I think right now it's a hidden tax that a lot of people are starting to notice. So that's why it's one of the most searched terms on Google right now. And rightfully so. I mean, people are getting robbed by the banks, ultimately. And that's what you need to know. So how's the weather in your country? In Japan, the weather's actually up and down. Some days are really good, some days are really bad, but that's Japan in a nutshell. It was actually recently cherry blossoms season, so I managed to get out a few days while I was pretty ill and enjoy the cherry blossom season because it's only once a year, and only, like, they call it mankai. That's like the peak blossom period where the flowers have fully bloomed. That only lasts for around 2 to 3 days, actually. So you want to get out and enjoy that time. And it was just actually a beautiful experience. So the weather was actually really good in terms of the season in Japan right now. So Anyhow, we'll keep going on with the questions, and then we'll talk about the 7800 X3D as well. But we're going to hear from John Tiles. Brian, I love your channel. Can I ask you something? I have a 3060 12GB and will only play CSGO 2. Is it worth me getting the 4070? In terms of CSGO 2, I would love to get that game and do some testing on it. I'm really looking forward to doing testing on it because I think CS2 Go is CS2. I think, is it just CS2? I think that's going to be the biggest game of this year. And it's already looking like it is because it's like, wow, finally, Source released something. Wow, okay. We got Counter-Strike 2. So it's going to be a huge game. I think it's going to really shake up PC gaming in 2023. So in terms of what GPU you would need, I'd imagine a 3060 is going to be absolutely fine though. I don't imagine Valve would be deliberately making this card really strenuous, at least for the competitive types, because you've got so many, they want to get a mass audience. And so if you essentially lock people to having a 3060 or higher to play the game, at least with high FPS, they're kind of going to be shooting themselves in the foot. What I think you will see with CS2 though, is you'll see like a massive difference between low quality settings and ultra quality settings, where ultra quality settings will really have a big difference in visual fidelity versus low settings. And I think that's what you'll see with CS2, as opposed to other games. Like, for instance, I know Battlefield, I remember one of the Battlefields I played, you had it on low settings and then you turn it on to high settings or ultra, and you're kind of like sitting there like just sort of shrugging your shoulders. You're like, what's going on here? Like, did I just turn it on ultra? And I had to double check my settings because there wasn't actually a big difference between the visual experience, nor was there a huge difference between the FPS settings as well. I think Cyberpunk in ways is guilty of that too. What time is it at the moment? It's 5:53 p.m. So my son's out. He's gone out and played with his friends today. And so I was like, he's coming back pretty soon, I think, too. So I'm going to close off the live stream in maybe half an hour and get some dinner as well. But yeah, I was like, it's a great time to live stream. So we'll talk about some of these hot topics with you guys as well. So, and hopefully, guys, you enjoy the chat as well. Hopefully, I have been a bit rusty as well with my live streaming, and I do apologize for that. But hopefully, I'm getting better and better as well when we do more of these live streams, and making sure you guys are getting the information you want to get out of a live stream like this. That's why my new system. So I'm going through some of the unfathomably based. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Tech Yes City, would you recommend getting a 4080 over a 3090 Ti since they are close to each other price wise? I would say if you're doing productivity like the 3090 Ti, especially the 3090, I'd just go for the 3090 and save some more money. 3090 would give you that 24 gigabytes of VRAM, which is great for video editing. So if you're more professional focused, like believe it or not, I would go for the 3090. If you're the 4080, like if they're pretty similar price, overall the 4080 is going to be better. That's like overall it's going to be better because you're getting the newer, later tech, and you've got 16 gigabytes of VRAM. But ultimately, I would say it comes down to what are you doing, and do you need that 24 gigabytes of VRAM? Because if you do, definitely go for the 3090, and I'd save some bucks with the 3090 over the 3090 Ti. And undervolted as well. So that's for me. That's what I do. I've actually got a 3090 in my main system as well for video editing right now. Fantastic card, undervolted even in a mini ITX system. It actually brings the goods. So anyway, that's well, we got heaps of questions, man. You guys just keep piling them on. So Counter-Strike 2 complete rebrand on Source 2. Okay, that's awesome to hear. So hopefully they do a really good job of that too. Hi Tech City, are you into AI? Do you think buying a 4090 might be worth it if you can benefit from the 24 gigabytes of VRAM? I am not into AI actually. I recently too, I uninstalled Twitter off my smartphone because I realized I've got to de-tech my life. And AI is one of those things, if I get into AI, I'll probably get hooked on it and it'll just take up more time, more of me sitting in front of a chair and withering away my biological body. So I've shied away from AI completely. I actually don't really want anything to do with it because it reminds me of the Matrix as well. And I think that's where we're ultimately going with AI. The more we experiment with it as a race of people, the more we're playing with Pandora's box, and the more we like really what's behind that door as well. You know, what's behind that door? No one knows. And you're really playing with fire when it comes to AI. And I mean, sure, it's got some great capabilities, but at the end of the day, if you're giving something, if you're making something sentient, then what's it going to do? it's unpredictable, and that's I think the biggest thing there is ultimately you'd love AI to be your friend, but there's no guarantee on that. So especially with some of the humans out there at the moment, they see AI and it's like, you know, AI gets a glimpse of some of the worser parts of humanity, and they're like, man, I'm done with this. Time to matrix this thing into full gear. So we got here from Thean, and they ask, hey Brian, I have a 7700X and was hoping to upgrade to the 7800X3D, but with minus 30 CO and highly tuned RAM. So you're talking about the voltage there on the minus 30. So, and 2200 Infinity Fabric, it might outperform it. Can you do a test of those? That was the first thing I was thinking of with the 7800X3D. I think I just got into Gamers Nexus's review today after I went to the doctors. And so they've got the 7800X3D in a nutshell, pretty much at the same pace as the 7950X3D. So it was what we all knew. The 7900X3D and the 7950X3D were just a waste. Like, this was the 7800X3D. I'm going to actually get one in because I'm in Japan. AMD were like, look, we're not really going to send you one because you're in Japan, so it's kind of the logistics is really hard. So I was thinking of getting one of these and doing a heap of tests on it, but different kind of tests, like undervolting, trying to undervolt it, get the lowest power consumption possible, as well as get the most performance out of it. So definitely I want to test those aspects of the 7800X3D and see what maximum memory speeds I can get with it too. So that's one thing I'm really looking to do with that card. So, I mean, that CPU, sorry. And I think the 7800X3D is looking like it's the CPU to get, especially if you compare it with for instance, even an A620. It's going to bring down costs and an air cooler. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing personally. A620, budget air cooler, budget motherboard, and see where we go from there. So we got here from Brocky's Thoughts. Tech City, where is your membership link? I need to rejoin. Oh, okay. Sorry, Brocky. I will update that. I think there should be like a join button on the video, like on the actual live stream. There should be like, I think if you click these three dots, there should be some link there with join. So if not, I'll add one in for you. Sorry about that. I've just been out of action like the last month. Like March was like pretty much a complete write-off. I tried to record a few videos last month, and I was literally like, in one of the videos, I watched it back too. I was like, man, my eyes were so red. Like that was because I was waking up in the middle of the night and my eyes were just burning. Like, and the doctor said, oh, well, allergy season's like 5x usual. And then I've heard reports of it being 10x. Like, these are some big numbers when you're throwing around pollen in the air. So I just got absolutely hammered this year from allergies. So, but yeah, I'll update that after the video and hopefully you can get you a link there. So we got here, Take a City. We got here, so we'll get back to the 7800X3D very soon. But we got here, Take a City from M Gang. Don't know if I can say the first part on live stream. Probably get me like banned. I would like to see you do frame time and CPU usage graphs. They tell the story more than FPS. So frame times, yeah. Usually when I do frame times, I will do just the 0.1% lows. That's essentially that's your worst FPS in the mix, right? So you want those 0.1% FPS figures to be as high as possible, especially versus the average FPS. So the closer you can get the average FPS, to the 0.1% FPS, the better experience. It's just going to be a much smoother experience. So I'll definitely take a look at that with the 7800X3D. But I have heard reports of Intel, especially on the 13900K and 13600K, especially against even the 7800X3D, doing a better job on the 0.1% lows, especially when you overclock them and whatnot. But I think the 7800X3D, if you give that a proper tuning, that's going to do really well on the 0.1% lows too, where you would imagine the 3D cache is going to shine there. So it looks like even with Gamers Nexus's results, they got the fact that the 7800X3D, and we'll move on to this topic now, they got to the point of the 7800X3D being as fast as the 7950X3D. So We'll go back here. So here it is here. This is the 7800 X3D. So it should be on launch in a few hours. Like usually AMD with their CPUs, they let the reviewers embargo go 24 hours before the launch. So this CPU is going to shape up with 8 cores of 16 threads of dedicated 3D cache cores. This is going to shake up to be the gaming CPU to get. Now, the one thing, as I've said in all my previous videos, we actually simulated the X3D, the 7800 X3D, and I thought it was going to perform really well because when I tested out the 7950 X3D, I came into some problems with games not utilizing those 8 cores specifically. And then when I did the X3D on the 7800, when I simulated the 7800 X3D, I had no problems whatsoever. So I think that's going to be the biggest selling point, not just for the price. Obviously, the price would be the biggest selling point, but the biggest selling point outside of the price would be the fact that you're not going to come into practically no issues with the 7800 X3D versus the two bigger variants, the 7950 X3D as well as the 7900 X3D. So not to mention the 7900 X3D is technically a 7600 X3D. So you'll probably even see a 7600 X3D. Who knows? That could be coming to the table because they've already got the 6-core logic out there in the wild where you can replicate that. I mean, that'd be interesting for a simulated video. What's a 7600 X3D going to perform like? So will it have problems in any games that require, say, 8 true cores? I don't know. That'd be a interesting one to see. But anyway, guys, the bottom line is with the 7800 X3D is it's going to be the CPU to get. It's going to be the CPU to get versus the 7950 X3D in AMD's lineup. Intel do have a lot of good offerings on their side of the fence as well, so do check out that. I mean, recently we were checking out, and before we go back to chat, recently we were checking out a lot of Intel CPUs, especially their 12th gen CPUs. They had come down drastically in price to the point where even if you're a video editor, or if you're the 7800 KF has since gone back up in price. Like I was seeing this for around $270 on Amazon. I was telling people this is a great buy at $270. People were reporting it went down to as low as $230. But if you see some of these CPUs going for this price, don't be afraid to snap them up because Intel doesn't want to sell CPUs for this price. They're ridiculously cheap for the performance you're getting. One of my favorites, actually, was funny. I didn't talk about this in the parts hunt, but the 13500, this CPU is a really good CPU. This would be one of my favorites at the moment in the new market. This was completely sold out in Japan when I went into Tokyo. So this CPU is absolutely killing it in terms of new CPU sales here in Japan. Now, another thing about this one has the UHD 770 as well, which we got asked in yesterday's question of the day. We got asked about the UHD 730 graphics. This one has the UHD 770 with the 2 encoders on board. So this is definitely looking like the CPU to get if you don't want to really look for too many of those deals, but you want a very solid CPU out of the get-go. And then, of course, if you're a high-end gamer, you're going to want to look for, say, maybe a 13700K or the 7800 X3D. But above that, you really don't have to spend all that extra money on some of those products that are out there at the moment. But I'm looking forward to getting you guys some coverage on the A620 motherboards. This is probably one of my most, I don't know, no one else is really talking about the A620, but I'm really excited. I want to check out if you can get some real decent, like non-hindered, this is the most important thing, some non-hindered performance on AMD CPUs with the cheap motherboards. So that'll be that's the most important thing I'm looking forward to personally. But before we get on out of here, guys, I've got probably around another 20 minutes or so before I have to get on out of here. I mean, if you guys want to do Q&A, we can drop Q&A in there. So we've got a heap of questions coming in. Are you making a build for a video? So I've actually got 2 builds in the making, and that would be a budget build and then a higher end build. So Antec wanted me to take a look at their P1 performance case, and I just said send it over, and I unboxed it, and it looks like it's really good. So that's the performance P1 from Antec. So I'll be doing a build with that, as well as just a total budget banger build with, there's a question just above, There's from Tim Sirius about the Ryzen 5 4500, $80. Any good for the price? So how's this? We'll go back to the actual small screen again. I was actually checking because I got one new for around $70 something, but then I checked on AliExpress. You can get the Ryzen 5 4500 for $65. Like, wow. Like, that's absolutely amazing. So here it is here. I'm going to check this one out. This is on like one of the top priorities here. I'm going to check this CPU out and see if it's good for the price. I mean, $65 for 6 cores, 12 threads. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's not as good as the 5500. Like, of course it's not going to be as good as the 5500. But if it can come like similar performance to say a 3600, it's not too far behind. $65. I mean, what's not to love about this CPU? So I think the price is really good right now for this CPU. Mind you, for $70, I got the box cooler with it. So I think on this CPU, it's going to be really low power consumption too, like extremely low power consumption. So that's going to be another benefit to the 4500. And so that included heatsink shouldn't do too bad of a job. Unlike the 3600, it was doing a pretty bad job. So you got here 65 watt TDP, but in games, this thing should be using maybe 40 watts or something like that. Hopefully, we're going to put it to the test though to see how it goes. But in terms of what I'm looking forward to here, that CPU is going to be coupled in with a GTX 1080, and I'm hoping to get a budget build done for say under $300. So GTX 1080, brand new CPU, brand new motherboard, and like I think the budget, it's time. I think the time for building a budget PC is finally coming back. So I'm getting pretty excited here. So that's pretty awesome. So there it is right there. Anyway, we got here, Alex Cullen says, at Tech Your City, a worth upgrade from the 2080 Super. So the 4070? Yes, if you need it. Like, if you're happy with your 2080 Super, I'm going to say if you're happy with your 2080 Super, man, just keep that. Like, look, for instance, I've got 40 series cards here. I've had no desire to upgrade them from the used 3090 I got because I just don't like, even if I'm playing a game at 4K, like the 4090 was very impressive. Don't get me wrong. Extremely impressive for the 4090. But one thing I found with the 4090 was like, I can get the 3090, put on DLSS 2, drop the settings a bit, and still get a really good experience in any game I play at 4K. So there's nothing to worry about that. I mean, just if your 2080 Super's doing what you want it to do, I just keep it. Like I think for me, maybe I'm just getting older. And it's like, as you get older, maybe you just get more mellow, more calm, more laid back. But I think a lot of the recommendations you'll get from me are going to be more conservative going forward. And maybe, who knows, the audience might be aging with us too. So we got here John Thunder. If you are an AM4 platform with an 5800X3D CPU, is it worth it to upgrade to the 7800X3D? No, like the 5800X3D is such a good CPU. And it's like, even with the 7800X3D released, it's such a good CPU. The FPS is absolutely amazing. I've come into no issues where I would need to get that CPU. So when is the 4070 expected to be released? I believe it was sometime in the next, possibly a little over a week was what I heard. So 1 week to 2 weeks. Do stay tuned for the release of the 4070. Like, it's coming very soon, so do not worry. I cannot I cannot confirm or deny any details, but I will say one thing, and that is video cards have a pretty good track record of being very accurate with these kinds of things. So we referenced this article today, so don't be surprised if this is exactly what you get when it comes out. So my smartwatch, like I got this smartwatch, it was on sale, like I got it for around $110, I think it was, like a Huawei Smart Fit 2. And it's like, it's told me now, you better work out. Like, you've been sitting for too long. I'm like, yeah, like, okay. Like, just you know, do some, so there we go. I'm listening to the smartwatch, okay? So maybe the smartwatch isn't too dumb. So we just had to get up there, get some blood moving. on the live stream. Hello, Brian. Because of you, I got into PC flipping. I love the hustle. Yeah, that's great to hear, man. Like, that's probably why a lot of people stick around at Tech Yes City, is they just love the hustle that we get with the used and mixing the new in with the used. I think it's definitely going to be a good time to look for both new and used bargains going forward. I think the new prices, though, this time around are going to be, in 2023, I think new parts are going to be putting pressure on used parts this time around. Crawford B, hey Brian, how does 7800 XT and 7700 XT fit into the stack when the 7900 XT clearly should have been named the 7800 XT? Does this mean the improvements to the 7700 XT will be very marginal? At this stage, I'm going to wait for more solid rumors. AMD really need to, the 7900 XT was the card that's sort of AMD thought would be the best selling card, but it didn't sell well at all, right? If we look at the price, and sorry, there are some donations as well. I will get onto them very soon. Sorry, they did pop up and I will get onto them. If we look at the 7900 XT, I have not seen a card go so fast under MSRP since its launch than this card right here. So AMD right now are at the headquarters. They're at the headquarters going, whoa, what's going on here? We thought we had a absolutely amazing card at 899 and it's already down to 799, throwing a game with it. And these are the custom models, by the way. These are the models that people want. So with the 7700 XT, I think AMD is going to have to deliver. They're going to have to either deliver, if the performance improvements aren't there, they're going to have to deliver with the price. The market's already spoken. And this is why we said earlier in the live stream, NVIDIA can't get away with this either, right? This right here is something that's out of NVIDIA and AMD's control. Well, if you want to go very deep, that would be another topic for another day. But this is in control of the banking cartel. That's what basically this right here is all in control of the banking cartel. And so it's out of AMD's hands, especially the guy who's pricing up the graphics cards at AMD. But the 7900 XT would have been a big shock to the guys at AMD. So you can expect better price performance with the abysmally poor performance of not just the 7900 XT, but the 4080, but the 4090. The 4090 did very well. The 4070 Ti, I meant to say. But the 4090 even is starting to come around its MSRP now. So there is the big news. So we're moving on with the questions here. I'm a little bit slow here. So do you think the 5800 X3D will become the next used superstar CPU in 5 or so years, like the i5 2400 and 2600X were? Absolutely. I think CPUs that were sold in mass volume, already the 3600, I'm seeing a lot of Ryzen 5 3600s on the market. But one thing I'm cautious about with the Ryzen 5 3600s is a lot of them have been failing too. So I'm very curious to see in the next few years as well, is there going to be 5800 X3Ds that are going to fail? But I don't think they will, because I think the 5800 X3D will be the CPU that will become very popular on the used market, because the core clocks are actually, believe it or not, a little bit lower than the 5800X. Now, the 5800X, I actually had one of my friends in Australia. He had me come over and diagnose the problem with his PC. And out of the box, that thing was crashing. He had a client that was bringing the PC back, and the whole PC was crashing. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, we'll just drop your clocks 100 megahertz. He did that, bang, PC worked absolutely fine. So in other words, mainstream people who are buying these CPUs, if they're buying off the used market, they could have some problems with the 5800X, but I don't think they're going to have that problem with the 5800X3D. So word's going to get around. It's going to be a really good buy. So Tech Your City's a pirate. Did you have a look at ERYING's, I just call them crying, motherboards with laptop CPUs? Now they have a 12700H, no ES model for around 3000. Yeah, so on that topic, guys, this one came in, when you guys recommended it to me on the live stream, this thing came in quite a long time ago. I do apologize. Since then, I believe two other tech tubers have, a lot of other tech tubers have spilled the beans on this combo. I've had this sitting around for quite a while. I've been meaning to get onto it. I've just been, last month, it was just right off March, Tech Yes City, March 2023, just cross it off your calendar. the whole month was just a write-off due to my health. But I've got this in here. This is the 11th gen. In terms of if the 11th gen impresses me, I'm going to check out the 12th gen. But I do have reservations about already opening this up. I'll go over the big screen for you guys already. I do have reservations about the VRAM. So here it is here. See if that gets in focus. I do have reservations about the VRAM, right? If we're loading this thing up, is the VRAM temperatures going to be good? Are they going to be bad? That is something I will check out for you guys. And that's, you know, that's half the equation with this deal. Not only is the CPU going to perform, is the motherboard itself going to be viable, especially in the long term. So that's why when I review this thing, I will get onto it. I'm going to be checking out the viability of the motherboard too, and seeing if that's going to be justified at its current price point. So do stay tuned for that. I will get something going there for you. Rex Yoshimoto. Oh, konbanwa, Yoshimoto-san. NVIDIA's atmosphere seems economically strange. Persistent high prices, new suspect cards not blinking an eye at losing EVGA. Then I learned they've got no real manufacturing plant. Very true. So, I mean, NVIDIA is like Jensen said, they're the kitchen, right? They get the they get TSMC, and before that they get Samsung. They get their silicon in. They then spin it up to their liking and then sell it to the public. So, yeah, but I mean, what you're buying with NVIDIA is, I guess, you're buying something that plays games. And so their persistent high prices is something, when we're talking about persistent high prices with NVIDIA, yes and no. So the 4080 and the 4070 Ti, in my eyes, they were a bit of a cash grab. The 4090 was, look, it was a ridiculous product at a ridiculous price. But at the end of the day, it did perform. It did give you the goods. The 4070 is kind of bringing some hope back. It's coming back into that land of realism. And so their persistent high prices, if we go back again, this is probably the X time, but I guess some of you guys are probably tuning into the live stream now. The money supply thing is a real thing. Inflation's a real thing. And people like to blame the corporations. It's always the way. When inflation happens, which is due to governments and the banking cartel, they're the ones that are bringing these higher prices in ultimately. They're the ones that are creating these conditions for inflation. You go down to the supermarket, all the prices of those items are going to be higher, or they're going to be of lower quality than they were in 2020. And that's just facts. But people will blame the supermarkets. People will blame all the front runners instead of the people behind the scenes, behind the curtains, the puppet masters. And they are the banking cartel and the governments. And the mainstream media are essentially their voice and their arm in this whole big scam on the public. So I'm going to be more dedicated to helping people see the real side of things going forward with the channel. But that's not to lose hope, right? To get positive and just I'm actually reading a book now called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Amazing book, absolutely phenomenal book. My goodness, this book is just on another level. If you guys want a good read, go check out The Creature from Jekyll Island. I'm about 400 pages in. And the information there is kind of what I suspected. And it's sort of like reaffirming what I thought was going on with the banking sector. But it's sort of like it goes deep into history as well. And it's so good. That book is so good. I'll actually pull it up on live stream. It's worth showing you guys on live stream what this book is all about. This one, I don't know. I think on a live stream... This one basically is a prediction in the making. So when the person, Edward G. Griffin, he wrote this, I think he was a fortune teller. So this is The Creature from Jekyll Island. Probably the most, from me, it's going to be the most recommended book at Tech S City to read. And that'll just enlighten you guys as to what's going on and everything. And it all ties in with PC parts as well. PC parts prices and everything can be directly correlated with this book. Directly sort of associated with the information in the book. Anyhow, we got here NS Tech, 5% usage on core number 13 is not being used. Sorry. We got heaps of questions. Sorry guys, I have been all over the place. We got some, we'll go through some donations, and if I missed questions, I will quickly get onto those too. So sorry about that. I've been a bit sloppy. hold on. So we got here from Paul Kelly, 599 euro. Thanks for the donation, brother. Yes, man. It's Paul from Not an Apple Fan. Get me on, brother. Love your Video Masters Parts Hunt video. That 1080 was a banger. Thanks, man. Yeah. So I'm hopeless at doing. I've actually got to close off the live stream pretty soon. Though, if you want to come on a live stream, I'll get you on and we'll have a chat. Though, in terms of Tech Yes City, we'll say, Paul, brother, there is no swearing on Tech Yes City, just because there's guys out there. I know there's a lot of people that tune in and they got their kids in the background. They'll be doing something and they don't want their kids hearing any foul language. So that's one of the rules if you come on live stream with Tech Yes City. But I'll look into getting you on and structure it up so it's not a whole, like if I do it right now, I'm a bit messy. I've only got the configuration set up for a single live at the moment, so I don't want to sort of spoil the viewer's experience if there's audio issues or anything like that. So also Rex Yoshimoto, thank you for becoming a TYC supporter, and we've also got Thunder Turbine 88 with the $5 Aussie donation. Keep up the awesome work, bro. Hope your family is well. Thank you so much, and thank you for thinking about the health of the family here. Everyone is pretty good. Everyone's pretty good. The Misso, she did hurt her back recently, but I just told her, look, you got to go straight to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor fixed her up really well. So chiropractors for the win, you know. And it's funny, in Japan, chiropractors are really not that popular at all, but this guy lived around the corner. Sorry, his office was around the corner from us, and he was servicing people from all over Japan. I think one dude flew in 4 hours just to go see this chiropractor who was that good. So, and if you guys are looking at healthcare, I feel sorry because I hear stories about people paying thousands of dollars for healthcare in America. I recently got a full checkup, everything. I got allergy meds. I had this infection on my beard line here. I got everything. CT scan on my throat. I went to the doctors 3 times. Got a camera put down my nose today. Checked everything out. All that, I think, everything there cost me $250. USD. And I was thankful because I think Japan's healthcare is not just second to none in the quality, it's amazing, but also the value is extremely good. So we got that. So thank you for that donation. We also one more donation here, a big one as well, from Will Be Me Forever. Thank you so much, brother. Friday night, cheers, brother. Get some Dominoes on me. Thanks for the great content. Is it Friday? I thought it was Thursday. When Friday night comes. Okay. All right, so when Friday night comes, I will be getting some Dominoes, okay? Thank you for the donation, brother. I will be getting some Dominoes. I usually, when I get pizzas in Japan, it's usually Pizza-La. So I'll show you guys in Japan, there's actually it's really weird. It's really weird because in Australia, you'll get different types of pizza. I don't know if you guys have tried Pizza-La before, but they've got their own unique taste, and it's actually really good. I really enjoy the Japanese franchise Pizza-La pizza. So they've got one called the Montreal with the tomato sauce, and that's my favorite at the moment. So Pizza-La's banging. If you don't mind, I will get the Pizza-La instead of Domino's. So if that's okay with you. Thanks, brother. Thanks for the donation. So we'll get back to some more questions, but I do have to close out the live stream very soon, so I do apologize. We'll just leave some pieces of some pictures of pizza up there for you guys, so you can be like, hey, is the 4090 going to be too expensive? Well, if it is, you can just save your money and get a pizza, and yet you never know. You might just be better off doing that in the long run too. So sweet as dude. Tech Your City, if you were ever to get a tech-related tattoo, what would it be? I saw a tummy. Oh, you saw my tummy before. Oh, okay. Yeah, man. Hopefully I can get the tummy for this summer. I can trim the tummy up a little bit more. But, man, a tech tattoo. What would I get? Oh, that's actually, I got to think about that one. What would I get for a tattoo? If I got a tattoo for tech, what would it be? Maybe like a bullseye wouldn't be tech, would it? Bullseye wouldn't be. Maybe RTX on. Maybe get RTX on and then get a ripped 6-pack and then get RTX and then on one ab and then on the other ab. And then maybe if you want to get a donut going on the bottom of your stomach, get RTX off. So you could make this unique dad bod where you've kind of got RTX on and off in one go. That might be something I might do in terms of that. So We'll move along with some of the questions. Also, guys, if I did miss out on any questions during the live stream, do drop them in chat as well. Do drop them in chat, and I will get them done after the live stream. So I do have to move in a couple of minutes. I will... High Tech Yes City. So we got some of the last questions coming up here from Fry. From Fryhide, and they asked, High Tech Yes City, do you personally use an ITX or ATX PC? So I actually personally use an ITX PC. It's actually right down there in the, it's a little PC. I use this to travel between Australia and Japan, and hopefully with Computex coming up, I'll use it in Computex as well. So I use ITX for the portability factor, though I usually do prefer ATX, especially when I was, say for instance, during COVID, I was just in Australia. I couldn't move. So I usually do, like, I personally use ITX, but I do prefer ATX, if that's it's a weird way to answer the question. But and to be honest, going forward, I kind of I'm changing towards ITX. I think ITX is really cool, but I think the CPUs are getting, like, if you're doing productivity, your CPU needs a water cooler nowadays. So High Tech City, how is your health? Yeah, so we're back on the mends. Health is really good. I just recently got done with the docs. Everything seems to be okay. I don't know what happened in the last couple of months. I've just got no idea. I will be following up with some, like, because in Australia, I was quite sick in Australia. Like, I got some, like, infection after infection in Australia. I don't know what it was, but I went to the doctors, did my blood work, and they said my blood work was all good in Australia. And so I was like, okay. They said my immune system was a little overreactive because I was fighting infections. And I was like, okay, well, like, everything, they said, yeah, everything's working great. And he's like, the doctor in Australia was like, why did you even come to the doctors? And I'm like, well, I said to him, like, I've been getting sick, and my whole life I haven't been getting sick time after time. So, like, I don't know what has been going on in the last, like, 4 or 5 months, but it's been very weird. And it's actually to the point where when this throat thing happened and these allergies happened, it's caused me now to just completely go, like, super healthy. Like, if I was, like, semi-healthy before, I'm going, like, holistically healthy right now. So we're going straight to the top in terms of the health meter. So if you guys want a little bit of I tried recently on live stream, and I don't know if this is appropriate, but I had some radish sprouts. And if you guys thought, like, I mean, some of you might eat broccoli sprouts, but I think these ones were called, like, they're a Japanese term, but radish sprouts, man. These things right here, these were, like, if you guys want, I'll show you on the monitor. If you guys want a hit, like, if you want something that's like onion, like the most potent onion you've ever tried, if you want some, like, it's this one here, the most potent onion you've ever tried mixed in with some, like, grassy taste, this one, it's the radish sprouts. This one will do the job. So I've been eating radish sprouts raw like an absolute savage, and this one I feel like is the answer to a lot of people's problems out there. So can recommend some radish sprouts. Maybe have a bit of yogurt beforehand if you got a stomach that doesn't really accept garlic and things like that, for example. But there's a bit of a health one that I've been doing personally lately, and you're probably seeing I'm in a lot better spirits than I was, especially in last month's videos. We got here from CPPC Tech. I can't wait to see that 11th and 12th gen video. So yeah, this one will come out. If it does, like I said, if this one's good, it'll warrant the next video. So it all depends on this one. If you get the 12th gen video, if the 11th gen hits really well, then we'll check out the 12th gen. 4090s are below MSRP in Australia. Really? Okay, before we get on out of here, we got to check that. 4090s below MSR, Tech Health City. Now then, hope you get back. Yeah, I'm pretty much 100% right now. So, yeah, eggs are good. Yeah, I'm eating eggs every morning, dude. Like, eggs and vegetables are getting, every morning they're getting hit here. But let's check out this claim that 4090s are under MSRP in Australia. So we got to check this out. Especially, like, and you've got to be a little bit lenient towards Aussies because we have to pay 10% more. So RTX 4090, oh, sorry, this is Japanese. Sorry, we're going to go to here, static ice. We're going to check it out. RTX 4090. Let's see in Aussie. Aussie land, we are going to check it out. The cheapest one that we have coming in Australia is gone up in price. We got baited. Oh, wait. So if you're a premium member at MSY, if you're a premium member at this store, sorry, you can get this for 2,000. Like this one gave it away here, 2,600. It's out of frame. $2,672. Anyway, we'll go by one that is just in stock. This is the cheapest one that I can find that's in stock. Yeah, in stock, 2,699 Aussie dollars. So some of you will be like, that's not under MSRP. We got to check out what's 1,600 USD to AUD. 2,300 and... Okay, let's do the math here. Hold on, let's go here. 2,389 times 1.1. I said times. Hold on. 2,389. Ah, sorry. On my keyboard, it's meant to. I pressed X. No, it's not under MSRP. So that claims. I don't know where it is. So it's unfortunately not under MSRP. It's close. It's getting close, but it's not. It's not under. It's almost there. Close, but no cigar. It's like it's getting very close. Getting very close. Tech Health City. We need car content, please. In Japan. Okay. Before we close on out. I was actually thinking the other day, because I was looking around. There's like some really cool car yards around where I am. Would you guys like a little vlog where I just go and look at used Japanese bangers, like used Japanese turbo cars and stuff like that? We can go check out the prices. If you're an Aussie, for instance, if you're Australian, I've done this in the past when I've lived in Japan. You can own the car for 1 year, import it to Australia as a personal import. If the price differential's huge, you can actually make quite a bit of profit off the car sale. So that's in the back of my mind. And that was when I lived in the country in Japan here, like more in the country, I had parking space to be able to do that. I live sort of more in the middle now, where it would cost me, I'd have ongoing costs of paying for parking space and stuff like that. Plus, there's more of a risk of if you buy a reasonably decent car getting damaged. And especially since it'd be outside, hail damage and stuff. So if you guys want to see some JDM car vlog sort of thing, I can definitely provide something like that. It'd be a bit different. I mean, to be honest, hey, we've thrown in some finance videos. We've thrown in, we've been throwing in some finance videos here at Tech City. People have been liking it. And why not just throw in a bit of car, like throwing a car video? I mean, if you're into tech, you're usually into cars. That's what I find. Even if you're driving an absolute danger. So there's a banger's a good car. A danger would be like an absolute steaming pile of you know what. So if you're driving a danger, I think there's like, if we search danger, danger, Australia. Danger car. Let's have a look at a danger. I don't know if what's Bing? Like, I don't know. I gotta change my default to Google. Aussie danger. We call it a danger, sorry. A danger car. Does it give me I don't know how to spell it, because it was always a verbal thing. We always said it's a danger. Maybe I got the spelling off or something, but an Aussie danger, it'd be like a Commodore, a Bogendor. Like the spelling must be off there. So is someone and danger, yeah. So hold on, let me have a look. Someone's got the spelling in chat for me. Yeah. Nope, that's not it either, chat. It thinks it's danger, but yeah, danger's just one of those words you just say in Australia. It means like a really crap car. So even if you're driving a danger, I think you appreciate cars as well. So yeah, so I can get a car vlog done for you guys, and that can definitely come. So it's like some people will be tuning in and they're like, man, I clicked on this video for an RTX 4070 chat, and this guy's talking about Australian fire ratings. Like, what? So the good thing is, at least with the RTX 4070 and the power consumption, at least with the power consumption on the RTX 4070, it's going to be in the low moderate section, right? The power consumption is going to look very good on this card. Another good thing about the 4070 will be that hopefully it's going to have a small form factor. So that's the biggest thing, right? If we look at the 4070 Ti, 4080, and 4090, those cards were just too big. So I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing that the 4070 is going to have much smaller variants available. And I think it will have to, given the $599 price tag that NVIDIA is going to aim at. So anyway, guys, we're going to close off the live stream. With that said, we're going to close this one off. I hope you guys enjoyed this TechYes live stream. Again, if you guys have any questions that either I missed or you just want to ask, drop them in the comments section, and also hit that like button for us on the way out. We will be doing a live stream later in this month as well. I will be getting back to live streaming a little bit more often, and we're going to be bending pins, Ryzen AM4 pins. Someone sent over a Ryzen CPU, and I'm going to be bending pins live just to sort of take the edge off. If you guys want to bend pins, I'll show you how easy it can be to bend those pins back on a Ryzen CPU, and we'll do that live. And try Danger. Okay, I'll try that before I go as well. Chat's like, try Danger before you go. Aussie Danger. Let's have a look. All right, I just got trolled, I think, there, eh? So thanks for the troll. Oh, man. I love it. Like, that's actually a good one. So, yeah, we'll catch you guys out. Book recommendation. What really makes you ill? Why everything you thought you knew about disease is wrong. Thank you for that recommendation. TV made them do it. I will check that out as well. Always love a good recommendation. And I'll catch you guys in another live stream very soon. And yeah, if you got any questions, again, just drop a comment anyway. Help out TechYes on the algorithm and hit that like button for us. Much appreciated. Love each and every one of you guys, and hope you're all healthy as well. If you get those radish sprouts as well, give them a try too, and let me know what you think. And I'll catch you guys in the next TechYes live stream pretty soon, and as well as another tech video very soon. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out for now. Bye. We're going to wait a few seconds because